braids. All kinds of different braids for show skiing. For those of you that have reached out over the last several years, and even since I've been making these ropes videos, and have asked, we want a comprehensive video on braids. As mentioned in the introduction, you're not going to get one of those. Bluntly, to make a good braid, especially a pyramid braid, to do it and to do it well, unless you do it on a daily or weekly basis, it's going to take you way too long. If you would have asked me this question 15 years ago, I said sure. And I used to make all my own braids, years and years ago. Not anymore. They take way too long to tie them right, and to tie them tight enough that they're not going to come apart in a season or two is really challenging. If I had to sit down right now, even though I know the steps, a 4-tier braid would probably take me a couple of hours just to do one and get it right. So my suggestion for braids is go and buy them from someone who knows what they're doing. There are a couple of places that are still making them. I would go and buy from them, but, here's the but have them done to your own specifications. And that's what this video is going to talk about. What materials should you use? How long should they be? That kind of stuff. What type are there? Because there are different types, and we'll go through that in just a moment. So be careful, and if you really are unsure, you can go and buy packages of pyramid braids or jump braids or whatever you need, swivel braids. But if you go through this video, talk to members of your team, talk to your skiers, and determine what you want in your braids, and then go to somebody or a company that knows what they're doing and have them make them. It will be worth your time and your money to have them do it. Braid materials. So you can have braids made out of a couple of different kinds of rope, obviously up to you at the end. I do not recommend using any of the highly synthetic ropes. So for this, no plasma line, no Amsteel blue, no Spectra, any of that kind of stuff. All of those materials get far too slippery when wet to make a good braid. In a turnabout, from most of what you've seen in the other videos here, I highly recommend Poly P for this, not even Poly E. Poly E tries to go non-stretch, and some of the additives they put in Poly E, especially when wet, they get slippery too. They kind of have an oily feel. I would recommend Poly P. It's a little softer in the hands. It does tend to braid tighter as well because it's softer. Now, the downside is it will be more prone to fraying if you drag this across the ground. So if you're dragging this across stones or asphalt or concrete, it will tend to fray more. Poly P will definitely fray more than that, and here is a good example of that. Here's a braid, looks in pretty good shape here. This is, by the way, this is several years old. This one's been around for a while. But if you come down here further, you can see where this thing has gotten dragged and it's starting to fray. Not terribly, but see those fibers coming off? This is definitely, I can feel just by touching this, this is a Poly P braid. Good to the touch and everything. I mean, it'll be a good grip for anybody using it, but it does tend to fray. So either Poly E or Poly P, my suggestion is Poly P for your material for really any braid that you're using. Lengths of braids. I have a completely separate video out there discussing pyramid braids. So this is a pyramid braid right here. While it may not look like it, this is a pyramid braid right here. Go to that video and I'll link it at the top and you can just click on it, and that goes into depth of the different lengths for pyramid braids. And there's not exactly a right answer there either, but it discusses where you should probably go with your team and decide on what you want made. So those are pyramid braids. Standard for braids is typically, for anything else, is 5 feet, just like making a handle section. So if you are getting a swivel braid, usually 5 feet. However, there is one exception that I typically will have if I'm asking somebody to make braids, and that's for jumpers, for team jump. Individual, do whatever you want. But for team jump, where you need that braid, you want a good grip coming in for even just a basic helicopter spin or something like that. But mainly my thinking is more from show directing point of view and making it easier on my jumpers, again, typically you're going to get a 5-foot braid. And if you can see in this braid where it thins down here a little bit, if I give you a sideways profile, you can see it thinning right there. That's because I ask anybody making these to add an extra foot or two. And I ask them to give me either 6 or 7 feet on all of my team jump braids. Reasoning for that is when you need to do crossovers and stuff, or cross unders I should say, and they're pulling up and they're going to cross under to realign for the next jump. It's easier if you have an extra foot or two on that braid. It prevents them, that one chance in a million that you never want to happen in a tournament, where the tips and tails of the jumper's skis connect while they're doing something as stupid as literally rearranging, getting ready for the next jump. So I always ask for an extra foot or two. That's personal preference. I find it's better for them on that, and that incident never happened. So that's one thing where I do vary kind of from the norm on there, and my reasoning behind that. For just about everything else, trick skiing, swivel skiing, all that, that standard 5-foot braid is going to do very well for you. Different types of braids, and this is where you oftentimes will want to specify. Somebody is going to make braids for you, or how you're ordering, you should be specifying what you want in a braid. I can't tell you that there's necessarily a right or wrong answer here for any of these. This is not a simple yes-no type situation. I'm going to give you some insight on different types. You need to decide what's best for your team and your people. First type, often called the macrame braid. Macrame braid, and I'm going to put some links to these, by the way, in the description on all of these. If you do want to attempt to make them on your own, more power to you. There are plenty of YouTube videos to help you do that. Macrame braid tends to be the thinner and lighter style braids. You would not want to use these typically for pyramids. These are often used for swivel lines or jump lines most often. ATB lines, around the boat lines as well, as a pull-up, so that they can quickly reset and cross back under if they need to. So I have seen these done as thin as what's called a 2-strand. Most of them are 4-strand. So most of these are 4-strand braids, macrame style. They look like this. So I turn this around slowly. We'll get it closer to the camera for you. This is a good example of a nicely done macrame style braid. Again, they're a bit thinner and a bit lighter. They're less dense than pyramid braids. So you tend to see, sometimes you can see some air through them and everything, because again, you're going off the jump. You don't want to be carrying, 10 pounds of braid up there with you as you're going off the jump. So in comparison, here's a pyramid braid, here's a macrame style braid. Okay, there's definitely a difference there. And this one is significantly heavier. So that's type 1, macrame style. Good stuff, trick, pyramid, trick, ATB, jump, swivel. That's typically the braid that I have made for those. Then we move on to pyramid style, and there are 2 different types. There's the flat braid, which you're seeing closer to the camera here. So it is a flat, feels flat to the hand. And then at the end of this is the other style, the twisted style. Okay, those are the 2 main types. And how you use those, again, is determined by what your need is, because this is a pyramid rope too. This is for the center of a 4-high or center of a double top 4 or even 5 tier. Some of the people on that second tier, they like having this handle. And so this is a flat 18-inch braid coming off of there, super tightly woven, really nice braid. The people who do this did a really good job. I mean, it is tight, and this is, this is a couple of years old already, and it's still held up really, really well. So that's a flat type. And then again, you have the twisted type. Now you might be looking at this one and going, well, hey Eric, it's flat for a while, and then it moves into the twisted style. What gives? What's the point of that? Well, the intention here is that a lot of the pyramid climbing girls on the team that I was on at the time when we had these made said, we like the flat style. That was what they said. We like the flat style, but the purpose of the twisted part is that they know that the last foot of the braid is twisted. And if they don't have to look down, they can do it by feel. This is especially helpful in pre-built pyramids. that they know by feeling it, okay, I'm good, I'm on the flat part, oh, I'm starting to feel ridges in my hand, I'm getting near the end of my braid, I need to be careful. So it's more about the tactile sensation in their hands and what they feel is the reasoning for this. Do you have to have it made this way? Absolutely not. There are many teams that have the flat style all the way to the end, and that works just fine for them. There are teams I've seen that have the twisted style all the way through the entire pyramid braid, and that's just fine too, and it works fine. I will tell you this, the twisted style is heavy. This is a really, really dense weave right here. It's heavy. Hopefully you can hear that on camera. These do get kind of like a club, so especially those ones, if it's twisted all the way through, say a 4-foot long braid, that braid will be heavy, and it definitely can sting you if it gets dropped on you or if it's whipping around down through the water if somebody drops it in the water. So just be careful of that. The twisted style do tend to be the ones that when they're in the water, they tend to snag around and rip skis off and that kind of thing if the pyramid, some people have fallen and dropped them in there. So any of these work. I personally, this is how I would ask all braids to be made for pyramids. I do like the flat style, makes it a little lighter, and then a little bit of a twist at the end, maybe even if it's just 6 to 8 inches at the end, but something to give that warning to the climbers that they're coming to the end of the braid. So there's an overview of the different types. I will again try to put links for each of the types for you into the description of the video.